The Honorable Assistant Minister for Tax Policy walked in, and that we have other senior managers of the ministry. I don't want to take all the time to introduce them. Let me apologize to you, ladies and gentlemen of the press, for the little delay. We had in audience the UK ambassador, the new UK ambassador, who had come to pay a courtesy call. The meeting went a little bit above, but it was in the interest of the country. We had decided to convene this engagement with you, being the lead ministry that coordinates Liberia engagement with the Millennium Challenge Corporation of the United States, so as to give you all, members of the press and the Liberian people, the status of Liberia's engagement with the MCC, and that to inform Liberian people that this engagement with the MCC is for Liberia. And so I had often said that in development, let us unite. You all know that in December 2023, when President Barker was elected president, in December before inauguration, he paid a visit to the United States and had some engagements with critical movers and shakers in the American government and development financing institutions, including the IMF. One of the places he stopped was at the MCC, meeting the then CEO and head of the MCC, Madam Albright, in December 2023. He updated the MCC's team on his vision for the country, and that solicited their strong partnership. President Barker left a very good impression on the team, and when we came in as heads of the fiscal management team, beginning with my predecessor, Honorable Boyma Kamara, and the team, most of them they are here. I came in September, and we went to the IMF World Bank annual meetings. And topmost on our agenda was engagement with the MCC. We have been engaging. We have an office here that works on MCC matters. Let me thank all our technicians and the technical people led by Deputy Minister Debu Wazuo. So we have constant engagement, technically. But at the principles level, we must engage and make the right impression and answer the right questions. And so we had a very successful meeting with the entire MCC team in October 2024, and that they were impressed. And from that engagement, we were assured that Liberia's eligibility will be confirmed by the MCC board. We did not stop there. We had engagements at the State Department. We also had engagement with the U.S. Treasury then. The president continued to diplomatically engage with critical leaders in the U.S. government. So this effort, informed also by the scorecard, it is good that the country has also been on a path of passing the indicators. That was critical. We inherited some passes. That was critical. We want to thank all and sundry, present and past. We didn't meet it at ground zero. There were some efforts done. We acknowledge that. Our job was to clinch it, and to use football parlance, to score the goal, to hit target. and the president led the process, and we hit target. Liberia was qualified, was elected by the MCC board in December for eligibility for a second compact. You know that the MCC Compact, the first compact of 257 million grant, helped also rehabilitate the hydroelectric facility that had been damaged. Is one of the casualties of our war. Now we are producing some electricity. Yes, all our problem in power has not been solved or have not been solved, but we have some light we're giving. And the hydroelectric facility is one of the main sources. And it also helped us with water and sanitation in some areas. But the main focus of the MCC support was the rehabilitation of my coffee. It is there today. And so Liberians have a phone attachment with MCC. No wonder why when they heard about the Liberia passing for the second compact, people were jubilant. People were generally jubilant, although I cannot say that everyone was jubilant. I don't have control over that. But Liberians generally were jubilant. And so we began the process. This January, an MCC team visited Liberia, right in this conference room with the ambassador, because we were beginning the process in earnest. And the process entails hiring a new team for the MCC office, a national coordinator, and senior economists in few positions, including a private sector specialist, environmental specialist, gender specialist, and a few other specialists. And those jobs were meant for Liberians. We put out the ad for the first two jobs, the national coordinator and the senior economists. And we had a process that involved other ministries, other institutions, and the transparency entities were part of a process, GSC and others, to ensure that the recruitment was transparent so that we get the best of the best, the cream de la cream of Liberia in this process. And I'm told that just for two positions, we have 170 applications from Liberians from all across. And I lauded all of them for their interest. When I saw some of the CVs, very impressed with Liberians. Since that time, we haven't been able to answer their questions because there was a transition in the US government and things were put on pause for review. Although they say us interpreted the pause as stop. You know, there are three main buttons on some of us who come from the old school. You get to pause, the play, and the stop. The old cassette, right? Dimash? I don't see them now. So pause was interpreted as stop, but it was actually pause because it was on a review by the U.S. government under the State Department headed by Secretary of State Rubio. We've been engaging as a government with the MCC, the new team. There's a new team, new government, new team. One of the outcomes or the intentions of President Bokai's visit to the U.S. was not just to go to the White House, was to engage the entire U.S. system. And so we were on the team and we were deployed in multiple dimensions. The security folks were engaging on the security level. The diplomatic folks, my colleague, the foreign minister, was engaging. And I was engaging on the economic level. And so it was, action-packed engagement all across. Uh, President Borkai, you all followed the engagement at the White House, you know, and I don't want to belabor that. Um, Liberia is on the map. Good impressions came out, and the president was not just speaking good English in Washington. He was making good moves. And so we were deployed at the MCC. I led the team that went and engaged the new team, led by Mr. Suhan Das Gopta and the entire team. And we briefed the team on where we are. They were interested in a lot of things, asked a whole lot of questions, and we gave them comfortable answers. And that they promised that they would escalate their impressions to Secretary Rubio, and that we hear from them. As you know, we also on some engagement, even after the president's engagement, back to the White House, coordinated by head of President Trump's fifth office, Madam Paula White. I was at the White House, I think, of 2 days after the president's visit, because we are trying on the aid side, it's not the MCC side, to salvage certain things, especially for education and health. The fifth office is making some push for Liberia. We met Mr. Donaldson, who coordinates the office. I've accordingly put them in touch with the Minister of Education and the Minister of Health, talking about programs on a USAID that were caught with the hope of salvaging something for those two critical sectors. And my colleagues are working tooth and nail. When things reach a point of fruition, I think the press will be accordingly briefed. So this process has been on review, and that on, I think, Friday or so this week or last week, we received a formal letter from Mrs. Alicia Robinson Morgan, whom we met before when we met the MCC. She is the Deputy Vice President for Compact Operations, informing us that the MCC board, that the MCC has proposed Liberia for reaffirmation, and that the board is meeting early next week, sometime next week, to consider and possibly do the reaffirmation. So where we are, given all the indicators, we are hopeful that our country, your country, Steve Master's country, Kevin Deming's country, Leonard Doodle's country will be approved for reaffirmation. What does that mean? It means that where we were in the process, when the pause button was pressed, it means that the play button will be pressed. So where we were, we continue from there. And let me explain where we were. When you are declared eligible for compact development, what happens is that it's a process. It's a process where the country works with the MCC to develop a compact proposal. In that process, there is something that is called a growth constraints analysis. The MCC team that you will hire in conjunction with them, we come up with an analysis on the key impediments to growth or development in the country. because MCC money should be focused. It is catalytic. So, you know, the past, there was a constraints analysis done for the first compact. At the time, it was deemed the constraints were lack of power, I think lack of rules, and access to finance. So you saw that the MCC focused most of its funding to power. Well, a new constraints analysis, we've done the National Development Plan. We've identified where we are generally. You know, the National Development Plan costs $8.34 billion. Whatever resource we get from the MCC would not be 8.34 billion. The MCC will give us some money, and it is after that process, the growth constraints analysis, projects will be identified in the key sectors, costed, and then the costing of all those projects will determine the specific amount. We are hopeful that the amount will be very significant. You know, so we don't want to nickel and dime on amounts now. It could be, I see people floating figures. It could be below the figures they are floating. It could be higher than the figure they are floating out there. So at this point, there is not an amount. The good relations we have, the good signals this government working with all of you, we are putting out there as a country, is keeping us on track, and we're very hopeful. When Liberia's case was brought before the MCC board last year in December, it was not only that we were approved, but we were unanimously approved. Not one board member raised any issue. So Liberia has friends across the entire US spectrum. And so the outgoing ambassador, you know, is also very upbeat. Ambassador Turner, he sent me an email, very upbeat, that he's very happy that as he transitions, you know, the MCC is still alive. And so next week, hopefully we'll be able to give you details. But there's where we are. There's where we are. Let's look to next week to get the formal board approval. But all indicators are positive for your country. So that's the briefing I wanted to give you, and give you the opportunity to ask one or two specific questions related to the MCC. Thank you.
This time, we're not saying what to Madam Christian Woman, who will not regulate the questions.
Thank you. There was a request for coming this afternoon. We will take few questions. If you have any questions, we have just raise your hand. Call your institution, your name and institution, and you ask your question. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Fafle Kamara from ELPC. Minister, thank you very much. I just want to know if the compact has been developed, and if so, are we awaiting the post approval before any amount is announced?
Well, let me explain this process. It is a process leading engagement. One, you are declared eligible for the development of a compact. The development of a compact comes with you doing a constraints analysis. It was done before, maybe 2012, 2013. Currently, where we are as a country, the MCC will want to know, you know, will do another constraints analysis. Currently, what are the constraints to growth? There are reports out there. Those reports will help the MCC. The process may not take that long. And then the areas identified, the MCC will direct, you know, its money to helping us to tackle, address those constraints. So then those projects will be prepared. And then the the total cost of those projects will be put together in a compact agreement that would then sign. I, as Minister of Finance, will sign with the MCC to say it's an MCC Compact agreement. At this point, we are not at this point of a compact agreement. We are at the point of, we're at the initial stages of developing the compact or the compact proposal. But it starts with the constraints analysis. We're hiring a senior economist, a national coordinator, and all those people, they were to help, or they are to help in that process. Let me say that Liberia's engagement or Liberia's respect at the level of the MCC is significant. In the email to me, the Deputy Vice President, Madam Robinson Morgan, said, and I will quote, she said, "I would like to thank you for your engagement and your collaboration. Please know that the MCC has the greatest respect for your government as a partner and have greatly appreciated the opportunity to work together towards a common objective." So we're working towards a common objective. From all indications, we are on track. We are hopeful that the board will green light the play button on our MCC engagement, and then we go into recruiting the manpower quickly, doing the constraints analysis quickly, so that the projects can be identified. You know, it will take some time, maybe more than a year or so, you know, and then we go and sign an agreement. Let me give this information. People are comparing with Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone won its second compact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2020 or 2021. Second compact. Liberia won its second compact December 2024. In September 2024, my colleague, the Minister of Finance of Sierra Leone, Fanta Mamadi Bangura, signed with the MCC a 480 million compact agreement, September 2024. So Sierra Leone has been way ahead of us. Way ahead of us. So now, in the concept of the play button, if someone is ahead of you and then they press play, the person will be ahead of you. Because the press pause. Everybody, you know, remember that thing in the past where they say stick, and then we wait. Play. So Sierra Leone is ahead. So they're ahead. Because they were ahead before.
Fast play.
Yeah, play. So, and if there was one or two, I think a country was even in implementation already with their projects. Everything paused. So they were ahead, they are ahead. So we are behind in the process. And that we will hope and will work to ensure that the development process will be expedited. But all indicators are good. We're continuing to make good results, good indicators on all the scorecards. And this is all government approach, led by the president, assisted by the vice president. We coordinate with the other ministries. The scorecards are not just the responsibility of the Ministry of Finance. You have issues that relate to gender, education, health. So it's you know, and even civil society. What we do as a country, you know, is important. And let me say this: we can haggle, we can argue, based on the kind of stripes we wear, political, tribal, religious, and everything. When it comes to development, let's unite. Because the electricity that the MCC First Compact is giving, no government has asked for political party ID card to give the light. No government. The roads that are being built, no government has asked for political party ID card, tribal ID card, religious ID card as to who will get on the road. Let's unite. We are all in this together. I wish that we can all wish our country well. Although I have no control as to whether everyone will wish the country well. But from where I sit and from what I sense, Liberia will win. And so let's keep engaging, and we value the work of you all members of the press. We're all in this together.
So we'll take team as strategy.
As a minister, I just want to know in the constraint analysis, who does that? The Liberian team or the MCC team? Or how is it going to work?
Okay.
I heard you in the French Compact, resources that were provided by the MCC, we applied that to availability and affordability of electricity. If we were to do the second analysis, constraint analysis, what would that be applied?
Well, I cannot second guess that what. Well, the team that is going to be hired, they will be Liberians working with the new MCC office. You know, we had an MCC office before, headed by Morning Captain. That office, you know, the compact process is 5 years. After 5 years, the office was closed. Compact one, I think it was 2020 or 2021, something like that. So we are hiring Liberians to do the work again because we are going to second compact. We're going to have the team, core team. We already have the backbone of the team at the Ministry of Finance. They're working. You see these individuals, you know, what's the last name again? Yes. You know, he's one of the top technicians, you know, working on the team. And we have other people. People are working every day. And so this team that we're going to hire, they're going to come in and lead this process. That constraints analysis will be done by Liberians in coordination. The MCC doesn't leave you alone. You know, in coordination with the MCC in the US, they will give the support. You know, from the beginning, the government will fund their operation, and later on, their operation will be bankrolled by the MCC, money from the MCC. So that's how it goes. They're going to develop the constraint analysis, working with all the sectors. They will develop the appropriate proposals and projects that the constraints analysis will identify. They will come and say, reaffirm what happened in the past. They will come and say, road connectivity still remains a challenge. And so we still need to put money here. Or power still remains a challenge. They could find new, you know, challenges, update themselves. And so let's give them chance. It's going to be an analytical piece, but, you know, it's a good thing that we're almost there. I didn't feel good as a Minister of Finance when I heard that 170 of our compatriots had applied for just 2 positions, and even at that, we couldn't give them answers. So it means that whomsoever comes out of this process should know that the person will be substantive in terms of competence, qualification, and delivery.
Front page Africa.
Mr. Minister, thank you for the explanation. I'm Giant Tum from Front Africa. You talked about the team looking at those things. What I also want to know is that, can you provide the priority area and the challenges you think the ministry can consider in order to achieve this compact?
Well, you know, we have a national development plan that lays out our priorities. The arrest agenda for inclusive development, the agriculture, rule of law, you know, the education, tourism is there. You know, power. In the arrest agenda, there are 6 pillars: economic transformation, infrastructure development, which is the biggest pillar, infrastructure development. That's power, roads, and we also have human capital development, education. You saw that we're signing agreements in last week for the construction of more than 100 schools beginning, I think, in September. So we're operating on many fronts. Uh, the MCC money, the MCC will do an updated work to see how, if when we cross this line, and hopefully when the press or the play button is pressed, they will do that work. And I don't think it will take too much time because there's much information now. There was a constraints analysis done before, and we have a development plan that has a lot of information. So they will not be starting from the ground floor. So we expect that our process will be expedited, and then it will lead into to identification of projects and where the monies will go, whatever monies we get out of it. Yeah.
Okay, so Minister, thank you so much. My name is David Yates and I'm looking for the Developmental. I'd like to know because MCC emphasizes evidence-based decision making. So I'd like to know how is Nigeria preparing to gather the necessary raw data and conduct the required constraint analysis?
Well, you see, these technical folks, what they do all the time, they're gathering data, and also data that informs MCC work is not only from government. Reports are prepared by different institutions. Some of them are NGOs, civil society. So it's a transparent process. So data is everywhere. So all they do is to coordinate, collate, and synthesize, analyze, and make decisions. So, but our technical folks are working on it. The constraints analysis will depend on data, and as I said, they're not going to be starting from the ground floor. We have a whole national development plan to start from. If you are an economist, you have all these things done for you. You're not going to spend too much time thinking, too much good information out there. So, data is all around.
We'll take the last one. Nothing clear?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Minister. I'm Nelson Blair from Stone. On the weekend, we saw celebration across social media. It was presented as if Liberia has already won the compact. Do you think that clarity has been provided today? I want to know, especially when you spoke of Liberia's position at the level of the compact board, Liberia has some good friends there. What is Liberia's fate, given your own analysis of everything? Is it a 50-50?
Well,
40-60?
maybe let me interpret celebration. If the pause was interpreted by some as stop, it's like, let me explain it this way. You have a process where you go to hospital and someone describes your presence in the hospital as death. And it is found out that you have not died. People will celebrate the mere fact that you did not die, because others might have been wishing your death. So those that are celebrating might have been celebrating the fact that, the MCC process did not die. That alone is a cause for celebration. Because while I hope that no one was celebrating or wishing for death, as I said, I cannot say that people did not wish for it. You get what I'm saying? So I can understand celebration. You heard what I read from the deputy vice president for Compact operations. Liberia has a very strong relationship with the U.S. President Barker was among 5 African heads of state selected by President Donald Trump. The White House has been an interesting place to be for presidents. President Barker came out and Liberia became, a place of positive attention. You see, look, things are interconnected. People are talking about the celebration of Christmas, 26, all across. The typical Liberian, there's no joke. It's hopeful. Whether it's in the US, the UK, Australia, why did you see the vim and vigor in the celebration? And there's across political parties. I celebrate Liberians for celebrating Liberia. Indicators are looking good for our country. Besides the MCC, we're working with the IMF for something called the Resilience Sustainability Facility. When we have done what we are doing, it's going to unlock some resources to this country. It's going to the development of this country. So we were declared eligible for the development of a compact proposal. That was what we want. We had not reached the stage where we had signed with the American government a compact agreement. A compact agreement comes after a constraints analysis is done, projects are identified in the various sectors. You'll be clear on the sectors that will benefit, the amounts, and everything. At that point, the dollars and cents will be known. As I said, it will be significant. It could be lower than 500 million. It could be much higher than 500 million. So all we need to do is to wish our country the best. And, things are interconnected. We have won a seat, a permanent membership on the UN Security Council. That means we are significant. Among the 15 countries of the world to be determining things, Liberia is among them. We are emphasizing economic diplomacy. And it comes with a lot of things for this country. So I don't want to get into who said what, who said this. As a Minister of Finance of the Republic of Liberia, my duty is to work with my team, the others, so that we keep the country's development on track, because development benefits everybody. And my word to the typical Liberian on the street, always wish your country well, because the development that is coming for all of us. And it's coming for even you. So, Nelson, I know you've always wished Liberia well. You haven't changed.
Thank you. We'll take the last comment.
Thank you, Minister, for this press conference. I'd like to know, the Liberian Post wants to know, the Sierra Leone and Liberia get on track with the second compact at the same time, same situation. If yes, why are we lagging behind? What do we lag behind? And the second question will be, did you say the compact is for 5 years? The constitutional analysis period, is it within the 5 years too?
Well, my technical folks will give detail, but I think from the time of the signing of the compact agreement, when projects are identified, the implementation period, I think that's where it starts. But my technical folks, they are always good on facts and figures, and we that call ourselves ministers. Sierra Leone versus Liberia. Liberia, listen to this. Liberia was declared eligible for a second compact December 2024. Someone, I will check the facts, told me that Sierra Leone was declared eligible for a second compact, I think in 2020. 2020. They signed a compact agreement with the American government in September 2024, after they were declared. Well, there might have been some delays. They could have put some things on COVID and other things. See that. So we were declared eligible in December. They were ahead of us, far ahead of us. So the comparison with Sierra Leone is unfair to Liberia. So we are runners here. You know, if you all recall, we were on the HIPIC track where we achieved nearly $5 billion in debt cancellation for the country. From the decision point to completion point, we took just 2 years. And that was historic. It was the first time any country had achieved that. Liberia was fast. And Liberia can be fast. And so we will move quicker. We hope that next week, when the board meets, it will give the green light so that the play button can be pressed. And then we recruit the necessary personnel quickly because the applications are all in. They are all on pause also. So when they press play on that side, many other plays will happen here. And it translates into opportunities, jobs for people, opportunities for Liberians. MCC projects gives jobs to people. So let's hope for that.